Hey, we live with it.
All right, all right. Hey, everybody. I see we have a few people that are still coming in. If you can see us, if you can hear us, go on ahead and type in the chat, I'm here. Let us know that you all are in the building tonight. Hey, Lizzie Cleveland. Hi, Eduardo. Let us know where you're tuning in from as well. Oh, Tam, I'm sorry. Hey, Tam.
Different names.
We'll give people a few more minutes to come on in. Tell us where you're from. Let us know that you're here. Hey, what's up to Manhattan?
Okay.
Wow, Portland. Hey, Britt. Yes, Athens, Georgia representing. I'm down the street from you.
What's going on, Mike?
Rhode Island. Yes. All right. So we'll go ahead and get started. People are filing in. Yes, I believe everybody should be muted, Eduardo. So as people are calling in, I'll introduce myself. My name is Eugenia. I am the senior PR manager at an advertising agency called Brunette Garcia. I've been doing PR for about 10 years now, but we're not here for me. To really get into the discussion about entrepreneurship and a discussion about challenging yourself to go further, and a challenge to be curious about life. So we're all here to support Tyreek Houston, of course, our special author of honor tonight. And then we also have a few special guests here to also share and impart some of their wisdom and knowledge as well. So going around the table, before we do get into quick introductions, we have Mike Cummings. He is a founder of Mac3 Consulting. He is also with Amazon and also a podcaster, wanting to make sure that we can get down and dirty talking about wealth and generational building with Mission to a Million. Welcome, Mike.
How you doing, everybody? It's a pleasure to be
here. We also have Tyrone Putman. He is founder of TPA Consulting, which is dedicated to the mission of helping people find their purpose and being a life coach. And he also does work with Pepsi as well. Hi, Ty, the other Ty.
How y'all doing? What's going on, everybody?
And so we also have Marcus Crawford. He is the founder of Bro-Ritos. And listen, if you don't know anything else about me tonight, I'm always down for a good Taco Tuesday. So the next time I'm in Jersey, I'm definitely got to swing by and support my brother in this in his Bro-Ritos movement. So hey, Marcus.
What's going on? What's going on? Make sure you pull up for sure. Reese, congrats. I'm glad I could be part of this. Really dope what you're doing with the book. I want to say congrats before everybody else get to it.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Yes, come on, get in the camera. Then last but not least, we have Shar Biggers. She is creative director and founder of Provoke Design. And she has done some really huge and powerful, impactful work for some really big names, such as Amazon Fashion, presidential campaign of Hillary Clinton, and then one of my personal favorites, Sephora, because, you know, I'm definitely a Sephora beauty insider. So we want to have to talk about that a little later. But thank you, Shar, for coming.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm so excited to be here. Congratulations, Tyreek. Long time
Thank you.
coming. Lots of amazing things coming out soon. I'm super duper excited for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that a lot.
And so, Ty, you don't necessarily need an introduction, but if you will, give the people just a little bit.
Well, for the people who don't know me, my name is Tyreek, but I go by Reek or Ty, hence Tyreek. I'm a user experience researcher. I've been working in the technology field since 2016. Rutgers is my alma mater. I received both my bachelor's degree and my master's degree from Rutgers, undergrad in information technology, graduate degree in library and information science. And I'm a new author. I've always been an entrepreneur by nature. And I think, really finding my purpose is amplifying my voice. And a book is just one of the gifts that I really have to give to the world. So thank you all for tuning in for tonight. I appreciate all the love, all the support. And I hope that from the discussions and things that we talk about tonight, that can inspire at least one person. If we can inspire one person, then our job is done. But I'm confident that we'll be able to inspire everybody that's here tonight.
Awesome. What a way to open us up. So just to go over a few quick house rules, we want for everybody to be engaged. We have a lot of great giveaways coming up throughout our time here together. So please, if you have not already, go ahead and take your phones out. If you're not already on your phones, please follow Ty at Curiosity2Goals. Curiosity Goals, and that'll also be the hashtag for the evening. Please screenshot our conversations, post them, post any wisdom nuggets that you're getting. We're going to be dropping gems all night. We'll be doing a few giveaways, and actually, you know what? I think I'm feeling kind of friendly right now. I think we should start off with a giveaway. As a matter of fact,
Well, right?
Just to let y'all know that it's not a game. Like we're really in here. So this giveaway, you don't necessarily have to hashtag. This is just going to be a random one, but we do want you to continue the hashtags throughout the night. And let's see who is here. We're going to tap to spin. I did want to share my screen so y'all can see it. It's like a cool Wheel of Fortune thing, but I'm not able to share right now. Let's see. Is Tammy Valentine in the building tonight? Tammy Valentine, if you are here, let us know in the chat.
Tammy, where you at?
Tammy, people are coming for your giveaway, girl. Okay, let's see who else is here. Let's spin again. Okay, that's actually funny because you really did win this next time, but we gotta go. We can't let you win. I'm sorry.
Wait. Okay. That's kind of obvious.
Yeah, we are operating in integrity here. We will not be stealing giveaways. S. Dickens. Is S. Dickens here? Hey, yes. So we have our first giveaway. So you have, well, listen, today is a new day. We're talking about new beginnings. So yes. So our giveaway is from our first sponsor. It's called GAS, Good As Sports. And so you have actually won a custom mask as well as a wristband. So you got some cool merch from Good As Sports. And so if you want to follow them, please follow them. It's Sports for the Culture. You can go to @GoodAsSports on Instagram and give them a shout out. So thank you to our sponsor, first sponsor of the evening, and congratulations at Dickens. So let's get right into it. We're here to literally talk about business. But I want to start in the beginning. I'm feeling a little brown sugar right now. I'm super corny when it comes to movies and lines and lyrics and stuff. Y'all just learn to love that about me. But I want to know, when did you fall in love with entrepreneurship? Let's start with Marcus. You're on mute, Marcus, I think.
Can you hear me now? Is it better?
There we go.
All right. So
Yes, sir.
when did I fall in love with entrepreneurship? I would say I didn't realize that I truly had a passion for it until I was older. When I was young, I always knew I wanted to own my own business. I didn't know what entrepreneurship was. I didn't have anybody to like mentor me into it. And as of like the last few years, it's kind of like a hot word, so no one was really speaking of entrepreneurship. But once I started, my journey into like the food truck industry and building my own business is when I was like, okay, this is what I was always kind of figuring out for myself. I had started a little business when I was young, like raking leaves and mowing grass, doing the snow like anybody else. I had something where, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar, but when you got your Air Force Ones, the jeans used to like dye to Air Force Ones, right? So I used to take the sleeve off a shirt, cut it off, roll it on the bottom as a puff. I used to sell those to my friends in middle school. Just like little things like that I was doing all the time, but I just never really knew quote unquote entrepreneurship. So again, once I got a little older and actually started doing my thing, that's when I was like, all right, cool, this is my passion. That's what I really like to do.
Good. Who else want to jump in on that?
I guess I'll jump in. The question was, when did we fall in love with entrepreneurship, correct? Okay, so I think for me, it probably was around the age of, I think I really officially knew in college, like getting my undergrad, and I read a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, and that changed everything for me. I realized that I didn't want to do what I saw a lot of my older family members do, which was go and work a 9 to 5 and then like do that and be loyal to, a particular company for life. And then they weren't very happy. And then they also didn't have a lot to show for it. Promotion amongst Black folks can be a bit hard, to make it to the top. And so I just I started weighing my options pretty early on and realizing that I wanted to own something so that I could have something to pass down, as far as generational wealth goes to, my children, you know what I mean? And also be able to give something back to those that raised me, so it was just it was a really conscious decision that I made that I was going to be an entrepreneur. I think definitely in my teens, for sure.
That's good. That's good. Definitely want to talk about generational wealth and building legacy later on down the line. So good plug. Good plug for that. What about you, Mike?
I would say it might have just hit me now, like when I was sitting here reminiscing and thinking about it, but I would say when I fell in love with entrepreneurship and didn't even realize it was when I had my first job. I lived in a housing development, and during the summer, I think it was my sophomore year, they hired kids that lived in the community, and we did like different like maintenance jobs, and I think I was getting $8.50 an hour, and we were how certain parts of the sidewalk are yellow, so we had to paint that side of like the actual curb of the sidewalk yellow. Like while I'm painting the sidewalk, I'm like, why am I painting the curb just to get $8.50 an hour? And I think that was the moment where I realized that I don't want to build somebody else's dreams if it's something, especially that I don't agree with, just for like a dollar, or just for a check. And generational wealth was mentioned before, and I'm really big on ownership, because if you don't own anything, like you don't have anything to pass down. And I think that's why I'm also so big on entrepreneurship now, because when I had a job and I could easily be cut off just because, for no reason at all, actually, just because it's an at-will employment. I don't want to depend on somebody else to make sure that my family's good and to make sure that I can set up financially things for my children that I wasn't able to have. So I think that's why I feel like I'm so in tune with entrepreneurship.
Yeah,
And
sorry about
Tyrone?
that. I had to relog back in, but it's probably been a different journey for me, a different path, where I've been blessed to have some good corporate roles and to really enjoy that and learn a lot of things. But I think I fell in love with when it was a point of I was doing so many things and I was a success in the corporate world, but I still had a void. There was some type of empty feeling that I had and I couldn't shake. And I was doing all these great things, but I was almost in a space of depression where I wasn't living out my purpose. And in that time, I had to kind of reevaluate what I thought success was, what I thought, I was here to do. And in that, God revealed to me and just do some introspective thinking that there's more to it than just going to work this 9 to 5. There's more to it than just going to put this work in. When I leave this earth, what's going to be my legacy? How many people did I influence and impact? How many lives did I change? So I think that's kind of where it spurred. And then from there, I think once you start to walk in your purpose, everything else starts to just kind of snowball. Everything happens. It starts to manifest itself. As long as you're doing the right work and taking the right steps, things just start to open up. Your view starts to change and your perception of life starts to change. So I'm fortunate to have a great corporate role, but my passion, the thing I spend my time with, the thing that I lose sleep over, the thing that I'm focused on a daily basis is my purpose. And I think in your purpose, you can find some type of entrepreneurial outlet.
That's really good. And we'll save the plug for that because I really want to come back to that because we need to kind of broaden our mindset around what entrepreneurship could look like. Because it can look like just you using your purpose or something you're passionate about, something you're naturally gifted at. But sometimes we don't make that connection all the way initially. But I love how everyone has, different experiences and different responses of how you were first introduced to the concept of entrepreneurship, because it's not necessarily taught to us when we're younger. And Shar, you mentioned Rich Dad Poor Dad. I've read the book. I'm quite sure all of you have as well. But specifically, I actually just came across a clip of him earlier today. It just kind of restating some of the nuggets from his book and how we are taught to be an employee. We're taught to just get a job. We're taught this kind of timeline throughout life. Get good grades, go to school, get a job, retire. And it doesn't always work out like that. And sometimes we're either kind of have this epiphany light bulb moment, like, you know what? Why am I, like Mike said, why am I making money for, this guy of this big CEO corporation that I don't even know? Or you can find yourself as in a Tyrone that says, I'm really not fulfilled. I mean, I'm doing something great, but something is missing here. So I just kind of want to open up that conversation of, especially because Ty's book talks about challenging the status quo, not being afraid by your curiosity. So my question is, how can we do better to teach and to demonstrate and to share with our community just the opportunity of creating entrepreneurship, the opportunity of the benefits of it, of creating generational wealth, creating legacy? How do we start that conversation? And I want to say, how do we start it the right way? Because, of course, people can see on Instagram, everybody's an entrepreneur, grinding, hustling. They're all just kind of keywords that's just kind of thrown out there haphazardly. But how do we spark real conversation, real inspiration that says, hey, there's more to life than just doing your 9 to 5. Entrepreneurships can be something. It can be something we all can achieve. And just kind of a real possibility. How do we start that conversation? What does it look like?
Since I went last, I'll go first this time. Well, Mike, you want to go?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'll take my best stab at it. So I think this lifestyle, entrepreneurship is not for everybody. It's not. It's not for everybody. It's easy to say, and it's easy to say I'm doing these things, but the actions, the consistency, the sustainability of it is a lot tougher. So a lot of people are entrepreneurs. But are you a real entrepreneur where you're going to stick through it time in and time out through all the things that happen? I think we start that conversation by an understanding that once you kind of separate the monetary piece for what you're doing, and a lot of people have that goal, hey, I want to start a business, I want to do something so I can make a lot of money. I don't want to work for somebody else. That's great. But that may not be as sustainable. You know what I mean? So there are things that you have for me, I feel like you have to have a foundational reason as to why you're doing what you're doing. Something that no matter what else happens, somebody tells you no, or your business falls apart, you still have that foundational reason that you're going to get back on a horse and continue to push there. So I think that conversation starts with one, identifying who you are and what you love to do, what you're passionate about, what your talents are, the things that you do naturally and normally, and then being able to base that and build off of that. So Tyreek, Mike, share, like everybody's doing all these things that they naturally have strengths in. They went out and learned a little bit more to build, but I think that's where the conversation starts. And I think at the end of that, entrepreneur, it's not sexy. It's not always instant gratification. It's not a ton of money in your pockets. There are days where you're going to do 10 times the work you would do and not get paid for it and not have the funds to show it. So it has to be something beyond that monetary gain where, you know, I talk to Marcus and I've been on this kind of on the side of this journey, on the sidelines cheering him on, but there's been days where, and there's been times where he's paying out everybody else and nothing's coming back to him. But what he's doing is he's not doing it for right now. He's doing it for 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, even when he's gone. So I think the conversation starts there, where we just have to understand that it's not the sexiest route. It sounds good, but also it's going to take a lot of sacrifice and a lot of determination.
That's good. I love that. We just got to start. First step is to find your purpose, to find your why.
To add to what Ty is saying, I think a big part of it, and it kind of goes into what I was saying before, like me being younger and not really knowing what entrepreneurship was, is you know, it's mentorship and it's also being able to see others do it, right? So if I'm a young person or a young guy in my, you know, whether I'm in elementary school, middle school, high school, even college, you know, I'm soaking up information because that's what you do when you're young. You know, if I see owners that look like me, I'm going to be more inclined to ask questions pertaining to ownership and be more inclined to dive into why did they own things? What's the benefits of owning things? Why should I own something myself? And I'm fortunate enough to grow up around the right people to the point where I saw I didn't want to work for anybody. Like, I got to see what it was without really knowing what it was, if that makes any sense. So I really feel like a key part is being visible and allowing people to understand, like, hey, like Ty said, it's not easy. It's a journey, but again, it's worth it because you're putting in this work and you're putting it in for your last name at the end of the day. So having something like everybody here has said that you could pass down generationally is a bigger picture than just working the 9 to 5 and collecting that salary or collecting that hourly pay, and leaving your financial situation in the hands of another person. Because at the end of the day, it's about people. It's about people and numbers. So for a job, if the numbers don't make sense, they're going to speak to a person above you. If you don't have the correct relationship with that person or with the right people in that job, that corporation, you're going to be the one to go. It doesn't matter if you're doing all your work or not, right? So, again, to circle back around, a big part is being visible. And then I also want to bring up the part of understanding the power of the black dollar, right? So as we know, or maybe you may not know, but there are reports that show we have over $1 trillion buying power, right? So we have over $1 trillion buying power, but the dollar stays within our community for 6 hours or less, which is crazy. So the reason that happens is because as soon as you make your money and you go buy a t-shirt or you go buy some underwear, you go buy some socks, you're putting it right outside the community that fast because we don't own anything. So once you start thinking that way, like, okay, if I own something or if I start supporting businesses that look like me, I can keep the dollar circulating. I can push generational wealth, not only to my family, but to somebody else's family. when you start building that bigger picture.
That's really good, because we do have to seek out that knowledge about wealth building and our spending power and buying power. I mean, these are the same data and information that's available to all of these big companies. This type of data informs their marketing budget for your Adidas, your Nikes. Like, they know how they value our money and our wealth more than we do. And there's a disconnect because we don't necessarily understand that, because they spend millions of dollars of their marketing budget just to attract, to attract our dollars. So that's a really good point. And another point that you mentioned that I loved is being visible in the power of mentorship is so super important. And I think as we're in a discussion of creating generational wealth, that is not just exclusive to our own family. It's not just exclusive to our own house, but being able to share that knowledge with others. I mean, right now we're in a season where course creation is super huge right now. Anybody can create an online course to share information. And I think it's important that we're not stingy with our blueprint. We're not trying to, I say this because we're group, but pledge other people under us just because we want them to, go through all the struggle and go through everything we went through and not have the easy way out. But that's not. That sometimes we miss that. We miss the key point of just being able to pass a baton and extending that out to our community and not just, holding it in and, keeping it for ourselves. So I just wanted to mention that. That's a really good point. Mike and Shar.
Yeah, if I could
So we're talking.
back, I believe the question was where entrepreneurship starts, or the conversation entrepreneurship starts. And I believe it starts with authenticity and transparency. I say authenticity because you really need to know what you want, how you want it. It's more so you need to be authentic to yourself, because a lot of people, like Ty said, entrepreneurship isn't sexy, but it in the social media age is starting to look sexy. So people may want to go into entrepreneurship for reasons that aren't really true to themselves. So if you really want to be an entrepreneur, you need to know what you're getting into, why you're getting into it, because like stated before, there's gonna be days where you're like, why am I really doing this? Like, why am I doing this? Like, it's just an idea. Like, why am I going so hard for this? But also it needs to be transparent, because I think the hardest part for me with entrepreneurship, not even the hardest part, I think that the most monumental part was me seeing people actually become entrepreneurs. Like I've seen Marcus be an entrepreneur. I've seen Tyreek be an entrepreneur. I've seen Ty be, like, I've actually watched it and I've studied it. And that's, if you really want to be an entrepreneur, like, you need to take the time to know what you're getting into, to know about business, to know about filings, to know about annual reports, to know, like, it's not just saying you're an owner, it's actually being an owner. And there's a difference between saying something and actually doing it. And yeah, I just think that you really need to figure out what for me, an entrepreneur is anybody who can create something and sell that creation to a consumer. We all can create things. You can think about a t-shirt, draw that t-shirt out, then turn that t-shirt into an actual physical thing and give it to somebody, and they'll give you money for it. So anybody can be an entrepreneur. It just really boils down to, what would you do if nobody was paying you? And once you figure out what you would do if nobody's paying for you, get good at that enough that people will pay you a lot for it.
Just to add to what Mike is saying, a lot of people, you get stuck in your mind, right? You want to do it, but then you create a mental block of not doing it because you want to be so perfect. There is so much money in the world. There is so much opportunity in the world that you can literally do like what Mike said and create your own niche and still make some money off of a picture of a door. It's really a big piece is getting out of your own way. I just wanted to add that.
Thank you. Shar?
Yeah, so I think I want to go back to a word that you mentioned, which was community. You were saying, how do you bring um, entrepreneurship and make it bring it to the community and make it more bring more awareness around it and make it something that we really have a shot at. And so I think there's a lot to unpack with a question like that. But I think the first thing I think about, of course, is like our history, right? And how as Black people, I don't know if there's a lot of if there's other races on this, but please forgive me and let me take a moment to just like address, like Black people and entrepreneurship. I feel that we have had so much work against us, like intentionally for 400 years, and we don't have a head start. We can look at Jewish people, we can look at Europeans, we can look at you know plenty of other races of people or ethnicities, nationalities, and they have had a chance to really build wealth and teach each other generationally how to do it. And I think that with us, we're starting at a huge disadvantage in the sense that we don't have that. We're every time it gets started, right, it gets destroyed. It has in the past, it's gotten destroyed, through bombings or whatever, right? And so we have to be extremely intentional and not just individualistic. We need to be acting as a collective. And there are other places in the world, so to say, where they have more of a collective mindset. And I think a lot of Asian countries kind of have that mindset where it's like, we build wealth together, we teach each other how to do it, and we invest in one another. And, some of us go out and we learn as much as we can and we bring it back to the group so that we can build. And I think that, Black entrepreneurs have to begin to take a mindset where it is like, what am I specifically doing as an individual to go back and bring this to the community? For myself, my agency is specifically, my bread and butter is bigger companies. I spent majority of my career working mostly with Fortune 500s or political candidates or something to help them build their brand. But what most Black businesses don't understand or realize is that one of their biggest glass ceilings is that they don't understand branding. And if you don't understand branding, not marketing, because that's different, then you won't be able to break in to become, nationally franchised, or, the next McDonald's or the next whomever, Apple, right? There are secrets to that. There's ways that you don't know about. And you have to work your butt off to begin to learn those secrets. And when you know that you found some of those secrets as a minority entrepreneur, I personally believe it is your duty to turn around and communicate and give those jewels to people. And for me, that's what I do. Like my bread and butter, will be those bigger companies that can pay me, whatever I need to be paid. But then I turn around and I will take a massive pay cut to work with a smaller, minority-based company because I want them to make it. And then I'm going to teach them everything I know instead of being competitive and holding back information, because I see you as you're competing against me. No, we're a collective. And if I don't teach you what I know and you don't teach me what you know, and you begin to launch a business, you won't know how to handle payroll. You won't know how to handle HR. You won't know how to do things in a way where it's not cutting corners or going to hurt you in the long run, or make it where the bigger companies in the world don't take you seriously. And we already have enough X's against us that we have to be way more conscious about how we're operating as entrepreneurs. It's bigger than being a boss or something. It is actually taking the steps to learn how it's done amongst the people that are really running things, turn around and go build that blueprint for yourself and turn around and give it to other people. So I think, whether that is going to be, I'm going to launch a school, you know what I mean, in the middle of Chicago, and it's gonna teach, you know, ages 8 to 12 how to manage their money and how to invest and blah blah blah. And then I'm gonna go do the same thing. Like, start to come up with ways to give back, because I think that's another thing that I'm seeing is that a lot of us, we launch businesses that are going to that are more so going to be in areas that we dominate in, or we are in a lot. For example, marketing, you know what I mean? But like, how many of us will turn around and say, okay, I have this marketing agency, but now let me turn around and go and launch blah, 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 that's going to help the 5 to 12-year-olds, so that by the time they reach 18, they have an understanding of this. And I think that's the mindset that I think that's going to help us as a community get entrepreneurship to the level it needs to be, because we're 400 years behind. So, yeah.
Yeah, and just to echo, I love how you really just kind of brought everything together, because you said so much that I know I gave you a loaded question, but you mentioned basically it looks different for different people, right?
Mm-hmm.
It may not look like a school. It may be an online course. It may be a foundation, a nonprofit that you start to as an extension of your business. It may be you partnering with a local school just to show up. That we miss the value of just showing up, just to be visible. And I think also in that we have to remind ourselves of the importance to duplicate ourselves, because that's another trap that we go out and make these great businesses. We want to be entrepreneurs, but then we die with our business. We forego and forfeit the opportunity of really creating true legacy because we don't duplicate ourselves. We are stuck in the ownership or the management role, but no one else knows how to do our job. We don't trust anybody else to do our job.
Know how to scale. That's the problem.
Exactly.
Scale. And those are one of the secrets that I'm talking about. You have to learn. You have to go where they are located, and you have to figure out how the hell are you scaling. You know what I mean? I'm going, where are you going to learn this? I'm going to be there too, right? And then I'm bringing that back, and I'm going to figure out how to scale. For example, not to jump in, I just want to put this note really quick. For example, I know it's a very successful studio in the area of design, that multi-million-dollar design studio. Okay, I know I want to get to a point like that, right, where they have over 50 employees now, and they just launched a couple years ago, right? I see Black graphic designers who remain freelancers for life, and that's the most common thing, designing posters and flyers. What the hell? Then I see these other races over here, and they have, in less than 2 years, many million-dollar design agencies, and they're designing the brand for, i.e., Pepsi, right, Tyrone? So like, they're doing something like that, and that's a $50 million project versus your $1,500 project, and they're scaling, and they're doing it in less than a year. You got to get in those conversations and set up those meetings and get to know those people and figure out how to break those glass ceilings and take that information back.
If I can add,
yeah, and one of the things that I wanted
quick.
to add on to what Shar has said in regards to hoarding information, right? Hoarding information is not a product of community. Hoarding information is a product of capitalism. Community is sharing information. Community is sharing information, wealth, resources to the people in that community and beyond. So that's the only thing I wanted to add to that, you know. And the funny thing is, information is readily available to us in the palm of our hands. Like, if you have a phone, you literally have a supercomputer in the palm of your hands. YouTube, it has tutorials, it has videos for anything, you can name it, right? But most of the time, we tend to use YouTube to entertain ourselves. There's musicians and rappers, entertainers in the industry that have used YouTube to get themselves in the position that they are in. So if they can do it, there's no reason why you can't do it either.
That's good. Tyrone?
Oh, I was just gonna just add on that, because I think these are all great points, and I think anybody who's listening can take this and really go and put some actionable steps together, apply this. But I also think that the conversation around entrepreneurship starts kind of what we're doing right now. It starts within your circles, who you're around, the conversation you're having. Too often when we were younger, We get around each other. We talk about partying. We talk about this. We talk about that. And as we've all grown, our conversations have shifted. The things that we talk about, the things that we ask about. So, I talk to, Mike, Tyreek, Marcus all the time. And the majority of what we talk about is growth, business. What's the next step? What do you need help with? What do you need support with? These are the things that I want to know so we can help each other build that. And as we bring more people into these different type of conversations, we spur that forward. And I think Marcus brought up a good point as well. And I talk about it all the time because we have a funny story how I even got started doing what I'm doing. But so often people who want to be entrepreneurs, they see the result. They see the result of the hard work that somebody else has done. You see where Pepsi is. You see where that person on Instagram is now. You see them after when they've reached this certain height or a certain level. And the thing that we need to all realize is that they started by taking one step. I always say you start by starting. You don't start when it's perfect, like Marcus said. And if you have a flight of stairs, you can't jump to the top of the flight of stairs. It's step by step. You take that first step, and as you continue to grow, you get up to that endpoint. So I think it also just automatically just starts here with us having these conversations, and then broadening these conversations to other friend groups, and then we start to influence those different spheres.
That's really good. And just to kind of recap this part, I mean, we're talking about circulating conversation, circulating support, circulating not only just our wealth dollars, but our knowledge and our wisdom, and making sure, and I will also say circulating patience. Because we're quick sometimes, some of us are quick to be like, give Black entrepreneurs one shot. That's it. You got one shot to mess it up, and you know what? I knew I shouldn't have messed with y'all. Or always quick to want the discount, or always quick to want, oh, we friends, we go back. Your support, if you want to support, it looks like really supporting, having patience and treating Black entrepreneurs as you would these big corporations and businesses. So last question, because I know we're running on time, and this conversation is just it's so meaty, it's so good. But last conversation, I know a few of you have stories about just life transitions, and I want to talk about specifically we're in a moment in our world where we're dealing with a pandemic. Everybody has been challenged to pivot, to change and recreate what a new normal looks like. And I want to start with Shar with this, because actually you did this before, a few years ago, before we even got into the pandemic, when you were working on the presidential campaign for Hillary Clinton, and just talking about how you had to pivot in that moment to kind of relocate and kind of shut down what you were doing with your own agency to really focus on that. So I want to talk about your experience, either back then or now, of just pivoting, and I want others to chime in on what that has looked like for you, especially during this.
That's an interesting question. Well, I think with Hillary, that was really unexpected. I was still somewhat of a new designer, somewhat. I've moved up pretty quickly. I graduated from, I have an MBA, but then I turned around and went to design school at Portfolio Center of Design in Atlanta, Georgia. Then I moved to New York, and I had actually launched my first business by accident during that, because this actually is relevant. Let me stop here. So when I was in school after I finished my MBA, I had actually worked in advertising for a few years, and I was sort of doing what my family wanted me to do with a particular trying to find a respectable job and all that, but it wasn't really what I like to do. It ended up sending me around in circles. So my whole life has been a pivot, if we're gonna keep it real. Because I started out in a PhD program at Morehouse School of Medicine, which is different from Morehouse, but the PhD, the doctorate, anyway, the medicine school. So I started out with that, and that was more so me following what I had been told to do. Right, I hated it. I pivoted. I then I made the decision. Okay. I think I'm more of a creative. I know people think I'm gonna be a starving artist, but I'm just gonna start over and do what I believe I'm really passionate about. You know what I mean? And what I like. So it took some digging. I didn't really know what I like doing. I knew that I like had ideas and liked selling ideas. I knew that, and that was what I was good at. So I went back to school for design. After my MBA, I moved to New York, and as I was while I was in school, I actually launched a business because I ran out of money and I couldn't pay for my last year of college, and I didn't have no more savings left. So I ended up launching a business on Etsy. It ended up being like an overnight success unexpectedly, and that actually is what began to get companies looking at me. Because they were like, who is this kid out of nowhere that like is selling all these accessories and like blowing up for like out of nowhere? And I was like a brand new designer. So I came to New York. I shut that down. I got experience because I think that's very important. And then in the middle of me having my own, having my agency back then, I was working, like I said, with most of big companies. I had just wrapped up with Sephora, and then I had got the call from Hillary's team to come and work on their branding. And so at that point, it was like, I actually almost didn't take it because I wasn't sure that I wanted, I wasn't sure if I was a Hillary supporter at that point. But then I learned a lot about her, and she ended up being the most sweet individual, and it ended up being the best decision of my life. I went from working for myself to having a 9-to-5 again, which was strange, and working 7 days a week with basically no sleep. So I think through that, and door knocking and dealing with racism and all sorts of, there's so many stories from that campaign. And being deployed to Raleigh, North Carolina, it's not even funny. That's just a different conversation. But I think that basically what I'm getting at is that I've had to pivot. I don't know that there's ever been a time that I haven't pivoted. And I think it was the best decision for me when I first decided that I wasn't going to do what somebody else wanted me to do. That gave me sort of a mindset of it's okay to change your mind and to go after something and try something and continue learning, go back and educate yourself. Even if you feel like you're too old to do it, it's okay to go back and educate yourself and do that, right? In order for you to reach whatever goals it is that you have. And so actually a little secret is that the definition really of a real entrepreneur is really a serial entrepreneur. It's not just having a business. The definition of a real entrepreneur is somebody that starts something, they bring it to a successful point, they sell it, and they start something completely different. That's a pivot, right? And so you have to get comfortable with changing. You have to get comfortable with diving into new things, mastering that thing, and then letting it go. And I've had numerous businesses at this point, and I love doing that. I love pivoting. You know what I mean? I love coming up with something new. And so I think it's actually one of the best things a person can do. And I think it's very, very different from what we've been taught and what our past generations have taught us, is like to just settle down, pick something, stick with it. I actually encourage the opposite. I'm not saying be a mad woman or a madman and come up with, 50 million businesses at the same time, because that's just unorganized. However, it is good to, master something and do your best to bring it to a success and help build people up while you're doing that. You know what I mean? And provide jobs and all that, and then be able to move on. So I don't know if that answered the question, but I tried.
Yes. I love that. And Marcus, I think it's just so phenomenal because you have the food truck and you're in a brick and mortar right now, which just launched this year, right?
Yeah, we actually launched this in April, so mid-pandemic.
In the middle of a pandemic, you launched a whole brick and mortar. I mean, that within itself is just ridiculous. How was that moment of really, that was really a faith move and a pivot to one, decide to move forward with it? What was that moment like?
Let me just dial back to our first pivot. So when we first started, we were a soup business. We sold soup out of a soup trailer. We did hot soups throughout the state of New Jersey. And once we realized that wasn't working out, that's our first pivot, going from soup man to Bro-Ritos. And that pivot was necessary because it's myself and my two partners, and basically we need to be able to feed ourselves, financially. We got financial responsibilities, and everybody's growing up. I'm the oldest of the three, but we got to build our credit. We want to move out of our parents' house. That's the whole thinking. So that's what forced that first pivot. We need to do a business that we have 100% control of moving forward, and that's what actually sparked Bro-Ritos. Now, we've been doing Bro-Ritos since 2016. Ty's helped me build my truck, literally helped me build my sink. We came and drilled some holes in the wall with me. Same with Mike. Like, they literally helped me build my truck with our bare hands. And again, we got to a point where now that truck, the first truck, became very successful, but we're capping out. So we're reaching our peak for the year. So, okay, in order for us to, again, provide for ourselves, we need to grow. So last year, towards the end of last year, we decided we're going to buy another truck, build another truck out, and we're going to open a store for 2020. And, we just went to work. We just started searching, found a truck, started gutting it, and paid for the build out to be done. And then we found this location in January, signed a lease in January, obviously not knowing that a pandemic was around the corner. But, that was just what we were in mode for our growth. And pandemic came, but, we still got to keep on moving forward. There's no real way to just say, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. Or say, hey, there's a pandemic, so I can't keep on my mission. So we just kind of buckled down, created our assistants here in the store, and made them work.
That's good. And so really quickly, I want to hit Tyrone and Michael. I know we're running a little short on time, but anything you want to give in talks of pivoting?
I'll be real quick. I think any entrepreneur, if you want to do this, if you want to do anything outside of the norm, you better be ready to change. And I think so many people want this straight path and this straight shot to success, and that's not what it is. It's going to be lefts, rights, ups, downs, detours, going over, under things. That's the journey. It's not a straight line, and that journey helps create that end result. It helps you be a little bit more grateful at the end. Just this year, I had to move to Dallas. I ended up getting a promotion, and they were like, we need you in like 2 weeks. So I had to literally change everything. I never thought I'd live in Dallas or Texas. To leave the East Coast, leave my energy source, my family, my friends, to come to a place I knew nothing about. I had 1 day to pick an apartment. So I flew out here, picked an apartment, flew back. And then I had to start a whole new life here. Then the pandemic hits, all these things start to happen. But so many people looked at it as an opera, so many things being taken away from them. I can't do all these other things. I took it a different way. I looked at all the things that I could do because of this pivot. Because I'm living in a new place and I don't have a ton of friends, I don't know where to go, and I don't know how to do all these things. And it eliminated so many distractions and cut off so many things I didn't need to do. So I was able to focus my time, my energy, and effort into building what I'm building, to build my brand, to build my business. And now it's to a point where during this pandemic, I've done more work to build myself based on that pivot than I was able to do before when I had all those distractions. So sometimes that pivot, that change is necessary to help you grow. It's going to help you cut off some of those old things and move into where you're supposed to be. So sometimes that change, that pivot is going to I said this earlier in my morning prayer, but it cuts that anchor that's holding you back to where you used to be, and it allows you to move forward and grow to where you're supposed to be.
Good. Thank you for that. Mike?
Everybody's, this is a lot of heat that's everybody's bringing. Hope I can find it up. But pivoting is like change overall. I have a real passion for change. It's what my master's is in. My master's in labor employment relations, but I specialize in organizational leadership and change. And like all my life has kind of been like Shar said, all my life has been about pivoting. In high school, I was a 3-time All-American for the decathlon. So I'm used to always doing like different events or different things. Like I can never just focus on one thing. Like I feel like if I focus on one thing, I can be and like I need to have my hands in a whole bunch of things. And I thought I knew pivoting until I started working for Amazon. That's like every day I walk into work, it's like, all right, Mike, we got a new process, how we do this, this, and this. And they're like, all right, figure it out. I'm like, Dad, I just walked in like 20 minutes ago. Like, can I do what I had to do yesterday, right? But it's actually it's good because in order to grow, you need to be in uncomfortable situations. And if you're pivoting, like when you make a break, when you're playing sports, like it's a little jerk, like it hurts a little bit, but it gives you the space to break away. So I just want to make sure that everybody knows that pivoting is not comfortable. It's gonna be uncomfortable. That's how you know you're pivoting. Like if you get too comfortable, then that's where you get lax. You keep doing the same thing and everything's routine. Like if you want to grow, you need to just do something that seems like out of the ordinary to get the growth that you need in order to do what you really want to do.
That's good. All right, guys. Let's give your social handles so everybody knows how to stay connected with you. And then we're going to meet everybody in the main stage, and we're going to do our next giveaway. So real quick, how can people follow you?
You want us to enter it into the chat?
That'll actually all be great.
That'd probably be the best way, right?
Yeah, enter it in the chat. Let's move over to the main stage and let's get ready for our next giveaway.
We got some more winners coming up.
We just supposed to click stage and start over.
Yes, sir. All right, everybody, we're moving over to the main stage. So on the left-hand side of your tab, there should be an icon that says stage. If you click on that, you'll be able to join us for the next session.
Hey, y'all. Welcome back. Welcome back.
We are back. Sorry about those technical difficulties. You know, that tends to happen. We spent about 30 minutes troubleshooting before and another like 5 to 10 minutes troubleshooting now. But, you know, we made it do what it do. We had people back on the line and ready to get the ball back rolling.
All right. So thank y'all for your patience. We'll jump right into it as people are still filing in. So we have first we have to do our giveaway.
Yeah.
We have to, work in honor and
now we can share our screens.
Well, I'm gonna do it with who's in the room. Pick at random. Oh, Tammy Valentine is here. Tammy, you actually won earlier, but I don't think you was here yet. So you can win now. So Tammy, you have won some goodies from Bro-Ritos, who was that's Marcus's business that we were talking about earlier. You have a few coupons. Yeah, buy one, get one free coupons at Bro-Ritos. So we'll follow up with you, Tammy, after this to make sure you can get all your information. Congratulations.
Congrats.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
And let's see, as people are still coming in, we have a few other giveaways. Let's see who has been using the hashtag. Has anybody been using Curiosity to Goals? I'm about to check. So if you need to take a screenshot of our Hollywood Squares to post, so you can get some free consulting going on. All right, I'll give y'all a little bit more time because we got some more giveaways. But yeah, okay. So let's get started. Ty, our special guest of honor. You're a whole author, like a whole author. So let us know. Tell us, like, what inspired this book?
Well, to be honest, you know, I've always wanted to leave my legacy on the world, right? Family is first and foremost with me. And that's what sparked my journey into entrepreneurship. You know, seeing so many of my family members work a 9 to 5, seeing so many of my family members not being able to take a vacation when they want to, seeing so many of my family members be under a tight constraint of circumstances and rules that they're not able to live freely like they want to, right? So that was originally my inspiration. I wanted to be able to amplify my voice, to be able to reach a broad amount of people, starting with my family, but also with a number of people who I know have been or are thinking the same way that I'm thinking. And I think a lot of times, you know, it goes back to that old saying, right? If you want to keep information from Black people, put it in a book. And that's something culturally that we all know. So I wanted to change that stereotype and put information that is not only relevant, but information that surfaces some of the problematic things that we know from a young age all the way up to an old age, such as that old saying, curiosity killed the cat, to be able to surface some of those stipulations that are really problematic, right? Like some of those implications. What does that really mean? And why do we know it? So I wanted to be able to change that stereotype, to empower people, to let them know, to make them think, you know, what is this old saying really telling me? How can I achieve my goals? And also for my close friends and for my associates, I wanted to be able to inspire them so they can see, okay, this is one of my friends. This is somebody that's close to me becoming an author. If they can do it, so can I. Seeing is believing, right? And I think oftentimes people don't know what you can do with a book. And I wanted to be able to showcase that from me creating my first publication, right? And to also spread knowledge. By creating a book, you can literally generate 111 different streams of income. And that's the fun fact. That's free game for anybody to be able to go out into the world, to go on the internet and to be able to find out for themselves. But for somebody that they can see, somebody that they may or may not know, or for the people that are on here right now, who I may or may not know, or they may know me off of an extension of somebody else, you know, this is a fact. You can generate 111 proven different streams of income from one book, one product. And going back to the entrepreneurship roundtable that we had, right? Talking about the inspirations that we had for entrepreneurship, it all goes back, for me at least, to solving a problem, right? So what problem are you trying to solve? Who are you trying to reach? And who are you trying to help? As an entrepreneur, you know, it's so easy to solve a problem, but I think it's harder to market that solution to investors and to other people who are looking for solutions, because a lot of the times, you know, I think personally, some of the answers that we seek are readily available to us. If they're not inside of you internally, they're around you from the resources and from the people around you. And that's also one of the things that I study in my research, in my independent study, the awareness and the uses of certain things, such as resources. And I think that, you know, a lot of times we may not take advantage of the resources right in front of us, but they can literally give us the answers that we're searching for. So legacy, being able to help and generate income for my family, and being able to inspire other people in my immediate circle, in my friend group, associates, colleagues in the world. That's really what inspired me to write this book. And the funny thing is, I started writing this book in 2018. I was living in Somerset. I was in my second year of grad school, and it just kind of came to me. I said, you know what? I want to write a book. I don't know what it's going to be about, but I want to write a book. And then the next day, it kind of just gravitated to me. The universe will send you signs. It will send you information that you may be searching for, even information that you may not be searching for. But when it comes, I think that, that's an opportune time for you to act on it. So when it hit me the next day, it was about curiosity, thinking about all the things that I achieved in my life, thinking about all the goals that I was able to attain in my life. And the common theme between all those goals and me taking action in it was a result of me being curious. And that's really what I wanted to showcase and surface in this book, and to help other people understand, why that old saying, curiosity killed the cat, is problematic. It reinforces so many of the rules, the institutionalized systems that we live in, and we may not be able to understand that on the surface level, but taking a step back, I was able to understand that and surface it. And that's actually what I talk about in the first chapter of my book, why that saying is so problematic, why we remember it as a kid, and why we still remember it now to this day as an adult. Curiosity killed the cat. One of the implications of that is that it reinforces the system that we live in, the system of punishments versus rewards. If you're good in a certain society, you'll get rewarded. If you're not good in a certain society, you'll get punished. And we all know what different forms of punishment can look like, especially in 2020. It's just kind of ridiculous at this point. But, that's one of the implications. Another of the implications is that, curiosity killed the cat. It's telling you, don't be curious, like the most obvious one. Why is it telling you not to be curious? If you look at history, if you study history, especially Black history, all of our curious leaders, they don't exist today, right? So it's a way to discourage learning. It's a way to discourage seeking information. But, that's not problematic. That is a form of liberation. That is a form of equipping yourself with the tools that you need to survive, not only to help yourself, but to help your community. So that's really what I wanted to do with this book.
That's good. Because we did touch on this a little bit earlier, that some things are just inherently taught. It's, how things have been done before. So why change them now? That kind of mentality is worked before. Why fix it? But it comes a time where we really have to, somebody has to step out of the line. And it seems to be that is what you're doing with your book. You're stepping out of the just out of the belt line, if you will, or the conveyor belt line, if you're in the warehouse, to give you better context of that. I know you've mentioned that you were just wanting to write a book, and curiosity kind of came to you, but what was the moment in your life where you decided to challenge the system?
When I got my first internship working in corporate, right? I think that was a big wake up call for me. That was a big shocker for me. And that was more of an awareness to how people who look like me experience the same things that I'm experiencing, in whichever degree that looks, right? So 2016, that's when I first started working in corporate. It was a shocker. I was the only Black person at my company, being an intern. And, I had to work 10 times as hard to deliver the same amount of results as other people and other colleagues who were there also. So For me, ultimately, I wanted to pave a way for other people to be able to follow after me, because I knew at that point it wasn't just about me, right? And this goes back to the model minority theory, right? But I knew it wasn't just about me. And for me, that was a huge wake up call, because leading up to 2016, I can be completely vulnerable. I can be completely honest and say that, my life was about me succeeding for me, not me succeeding for others so others can be where I am. And that was like the huge wake up call, because I was expecting to see more people like myself there, and it wasn't. So at that point, I knew that I had a mission to be able to pave a pathway for other people to follow, and for other people to be able to know that, they can do whatever they want to do. They can do whatever they set their minds to do. It's more of a matter of believing in yourself and knowing that other people who look like you are doing the same thing that you want to do, regardless if you see it or not, because the absence of evidence is not the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence, right? Like, just because you can't see something doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. And I like to use that as an example. And one of the examples that I like to use is love, right? Like, you can't see love, but you know that love exists. So that's really what inspired me to be able to, know that it's time to really challenge not only the corporate system, it's time to challenge the status quo. It's time to challenge the institutions that we live in also. And when we're stronger as a collective, we're stronger together. It starts with one person. One match can cause an entire forest fire. And that just goes to show how strong we are.
Yeah, that's really good. First of all, I just wanted to snap at the love exists everywhere. I just thought that was like real. That was real smooth. Real smooth. How important was it for you to be transparent in your book? You talk a lot about your journey and just navigating. And sometimes, it's an experience we all go through.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you've done you've done it justice to be honest and to be transparent in that journey as well. So why was that important to show that in your book?
I think that's super important, mainly because, you can gain insight from transparency and from authenticity, right? Like, seeing success is one thing. I think that when you see success, you can gain a sense of inspiration. You can gain a sense of motivation, but you don't have that insight to what that person did, how their journey was like, the struggles that they overcame. You can't really relate because they're already at a point where you want to be. So for me, it was super important to be able to showcase and let other people know some of the things that I went through from my experiences, so they can be able to relate, hopefully, to some of the things that I went through. And so they can also understand that, the journey to get to where you want to get, it's not always a smooth ride, right? Like, entrepreneurship, we talked about that in the beginning. Entrepreneurship is not a smooth ride at all. It may start off fun, finding your purpose. That's that's probably one of the most exciting things about entrepreneurship, when you find your purpose. But everything that comes after that is work, right? It may be work that you want to do. It may be work that you don't want to do, but ultimately it's work. And even when that work is done, there's still more work to be done. So I just think that it was important to showcase what I went through, the trials and tribulations, so people can be able to relate to those things, right? I talk about experiences of overcoming adversity. I talk about experiences in college. I talk about experiences with family. And I think that those are things that a lot of people can be able to relate to. Even the people who haven't gone to college, maybe they'll be able to relate to experiences with family. For people who may not have family immediately, maybe they can be able to relate to experiences overcoming adversity. So I just thought that it was super important to be able to be authentic to myself so other people can know that, you know, it's okay to be authentic to you, because being authentic to you is the only one true that matters. And also, you know, overnight success isn't really overnight success. It comes with work.
That's good. And you mentioned, let's see, you mentioned in your book about emotional intelligence, and we didn't get a chance to touch on it and talk about it during our panel. So I want to bring it up here. A lot of what you said is trying to challenge yourself to think outside of the box, and challenging the system. And sometimes the system lives in your mind. It's not necessarily all of the outside institutions that, you know, are erected around us, though it's part of the problem. But first, to address it starts within your mind. So I know in the context of your book, emotional intelligence is more interpersonal. But I want you to talk about it from a perspective of knowing yourself and having a self-awareness of your own emotional intelligence and how you speak to yourself and how you're able to challenge yourself and how you're able to really push yourself to think beyond what's just, you know, set before your eyes, you know, right in front of you.
Yeah, I think emotional intelligence is a big thing. And also one of the things that we're not taught as individuals going through school. Me personally, I can't name any education system that teaches students about emotional intelligence, but the literal definition of emotional intelligence is being aware of your emotions and being aware of other people's emotions around you in your environment, right? So when you don't have other people around you in your environment, the only emotions that you really have to be aware of is your own, right? So when you're not entertaining yourself watching TV, when you're not watching Netflix, when you're not listening to music, when you're looking at yourself even in the pandemic, right? But like when you're looking at yourself in the mirror or looking at yourself on a computer screen, right? What emotions are you feeling? How can you become aware of that? And then I think the bigger question is asking yourself, why are you feeling that? Right? That's sort of taking the next step, digging down to the root. Why are you feeling these type of emotions? Is there something from your past that's troubling you? Are you stressed from current situations and conditions that you're going through? Or is your mind racing about something in the future, right? Time plays a big part in terms of understanding and being aware of our emotional awareness and emotional intelligence. But I think ultimately it's important to be able to understand where you are emotionally, because that can play a big part in helping you overcome the challenges that you want to overcome, especially when it comes to entrepreneurship, right? Like there's some days where I don't want to do a certain task when it comes to something that I have to do. I don't want to fill out this document, or I don't want to reply to this email, right? But being aware of your emotions, understanding why I don't want to do X, Y, and Z, that just goes to let you know, okay, these are my emotions that I'm feeling. This is not actually what my mind is telling me. And there's a big differentiation between what you're feeling emotionally and what your mind is telling you, right? Like your heart, the emotions, and your mind, those are three things that truly govern ourselves as individuals, as human beings. And if you can understand the differences between those three, that can help you excel, like even in the pandemic, you know?
Absolutely.
I know a lot of people, they may not want to go outside, or some people, they may be feeling really hurt that they may not be able to go into the office again, right? But I think you have to step back and ask yourself, why are you feeling that way? Why are you thinking that way? And how can you overcome that? Because at the end of the day, it's not your body telling you the things that you're feeling, it's your emotions. And if you can get to the root of why your emotions are telling you that, I think that gives you a better understanding of not only your emotions, but of yourself. And, you know, this pandemic, it's a time that we're getting time back to ourselves that some of us may not have had in a previous lifetime, right? Like, so I think it's important to be able to use this time not only to better yourselves, but to get to know yourselves on a deeper level.
And I would have to agree, because you, in a sense, you are kind of getting time back. And I think it leads itself to a conversation of discovering more of who you are, discovering your purpose, discovering why you're in a job that you're doing. Is this something that you really want to do? Is this something that you're passionate about? Where clearly everyone has been affected in different ways. If it's been through layoff, if it's been through death, if it's been a reduction of salary or what have you. So it's really a time to be introspective and insightful about what the next move is going to be, and to become curious about who you are in this moment and what the future looks like beyond. And just shameless plug, therapy isn't, you don't have to just be sick to go see a therapist, you know? You don't have to be suicidal to go see a therapist. But sometimes the great thing about therapy is that it opens the door to some of these questions. So you can get to learn more about yourself. You can have a conversation about emotional intelligence and how to may not have necessarily been harmful, but not as quite beneficial. Kind of sometimes our thought patterns might put us in a holding pattern that limits us from really moving forward and really, achieving what it is that we're meant to for this lifetime. So last thought, I know we kept people here, and thank you so much. Y'all are still rocking with us. Y'all are look at your supporters. We gotta give a name. You know, we got to get a name for your supporters. They're loyal. But what are your last kind of thoughts about this book? I think it's really a coming to age book, but it's still relatable regardless of, the generations who may read it. But what's something you really want everybody to take away from reading the book? I'll just stop there.
Well, I think the main thing, the overarching theme that I want everybody to be able to take away from this book is that you are limitless. You can do whatever you put your mind to, right? And I made a LinkedIn post maybe about a week ago before the launch, kind of breaking down how powerful we all are, right? So this book, it was an idea, something that has 0 dimensions. I can't see it, I can't touch it, I can't feel it, I can't smell it. It has 0 dimensions. And over time, I worked to create not only the book, but the book launch, right? Something that's 3-dimensional. We can see it, we can hear it, we can't taste it, we can't smell it. But when you get the book, you may be able to do that. But that just goes to show how powerful we all are. We can take intangible things that has 0 dimensions to creating it to something that's in the physical, in the 3-dimensional sense, right? And we are so limitless in our capacity of what we can do. And I think it's just a matter of focusing and limiting distractions in order for you to be able to achieve your goals, right? And ultimately, this book is meant to be timeless. I think you touched on that, Gina, because it's relevant right now, but it will also be relevant in the future. And this book is specifically for the goal getters, right? I know a lot of people may recall the term go getters, but this is for the goal getters. So people who have specific goals in mind, things that they want to achieve, things that they want to accomplish. It's also for the daily dreamers, right? So people who dream about things that they want to accomplish, people who have dreams of taking themselves in a better position in life, people who have dreams of setting their families up to the point where they don't have to work anymore, anybody who's a daily dreamer. And it's also for the lifelong learners, right? So people who love to learn, right? Whether if it's academic literature and education, or whether if it's from learning about other people's experiences, because ultimately experience is one of our best teachers. And you can learn so much from understanding somebody's experience as opposed to reading book work. So this book is for people who ultimately want to make themselves better. So that's one of the things that I want people to be able to take away from this book. It's nothing to belittle anybody. It's nothing to stunt anybody's growth. Ultimately, it's me being completely vulnerable with the world, so the world can know that it's okay to be vulnerable with others as well.
Wow, that is so powerful. Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you.
Actually, you know what? I think we can all, can I unmute everybody? I just want to do like a round of applause. So if y'all can unmute yourselves, and if y'all want to like show your video, just so we can kind of like do our own virtual standing ovation for Ty, and doing his launch. There we go. There we go. Yeah.
Go Ty! Congratulations!
Congratulations.
So
Congratulations.
We're so proud of you, Ty.
Yeah,
So proud.
y'all. I appreciate all of y'all.
Handsome young man.
Yes.
I appreciate everybody for it.
So I think that's a great way. So yeah, so I was gonna say, if you don't have the book, you know you can find it on Amazon. It's the cost of a Starbucks cup, or I know y'all in Jersey, so y'all love y'all Wawa. Y'all can sacrifice a coffee or a hoagie at Wawa. But we still got some more giveaways to give. So I'm gonna just start calling out people because we got a lot of giveaways.
Please
Sedona
call me
or
out,
Sedona. Okay, Kristen Kior.
Yes, thank you.
Jennifer, Sedona, Shawnette, and Sarah. Sarah was the first person here in which we had to transition, so we got to take care of Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm gonna go with Mark to round us out. So we have gifts from, again, Bro-Ritos. We have a few different coaching sessions from Mac 3 Consulting, as well as Empower, Encourage, and what's the third part? The third E? Engage. Have some free consulting sessions there. And then everybody, guess what? If you follow Faith and Culture, Faith X Culture, right now on Instagram, you'll be receiving 15% off, as well as free shipping on any merchandise there. And Faith and Culture is basically, it's my baby, so I'm gonna do a shameless plug since I'm the host. But it's a marketplace where you can discover Christian streetwear and apparel items similar to like a Etsy. We're launching soon by the end of this week. So if you want to get a head start and become part of our VIP members, you can follow Faith and Culture, sign up for our email list, and you'll receive 15% off plus free shipping on your first purchase. So thank you for all of our sponsors. Thank you for all of our panelists. Thank you for our community, because that is who you are. Our village, our tribe. We love and thank you for all of the support. So yeah, I think we're good. We're done. This is the night.
Yeah, you're good. Thank you all for tuning in for my virtual book launch tonight. For sticking in even when we had technical difficulties. I really appreciate everybody, and support me. The Kindle version is $3. The paperback version is $9.99. And I think, when it comes to showing support to your friends, we should show the same amount of loyalty that we show to these big brands. So, this is something that's going to be timeless, and it will be uploaded to YouTube for everybody to be able to see this virtual book launch, even during this pandemic. And I appreciate everybody that, tuned in, carrying over from Hopin to Zoom. This just goes to show the value of community and the size of community. So following up on all of our sponsors, a huge shout out to everybody. Huge shout out to Gas, Good Ass Sports. Huge shout out to Faith and Culture. Huge shout out to Bro-Ritos. A huge shout out to Engage, Empower, and Encourage. I really appreciate y'all for being a sponsor for tonight's virtual book launch. And for all of our winners, our sponsors will be following up with you directly via email. So please be sure to check your email within the next 48 hours, specifically from our sponsors. If it's not in your inbox, make sure you check your spam. We'll make sure that you can recognize the subject line as, something in relation to this virtual book launch. So be on the lookout for that. And again, thank you to all my guests for coming out today. Mike, Shar, Tyrone, Marcus, Gina, these are all people that I have close relationships with. It takes a village. It takes a village. And, everybody that's here tonight, it was all out of love and support. So I really appreciate all of y'all for being here for tonight's virtual book launch. And I'm excited to see, the success of this. And, I have some other things cooking up. So you all can expect some more things pretty soon. But again, I hope that my book will be able to inspire at least one person to step outside of their comfort zone, to really go out there and achieve their goals, no matter what it looks like, and to know that they're not alone in what they do. There's other people out there that are thinking the way that they're thinking, that are trying to accomplish the same things that they're trying to accomplish, and that are looking to join or potentially partner with other people that are like themselves. So I appreciate everybody again. This has been a great event, and I hope you all have a great rest of your nights.
Good night.
See y'all.
Good night. It was real. It was wonderful.
Good night.
That's Miss Jen. Hey, Miss Jen.